El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
We would have taken it over, we would have gotten all that oil, it would have been right next door. They didn't respect us at all before. So that's money that goes to the United States, and some will go to the oil companies.
We know that the U.S. government did. It's an illegal attack. It contravenes everything that has to do with international law. We have seen how the U.S. imperialist, the government, and the corporation has taken off their mask.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said the Western Hemisphere is America's neighborhood and we will protect it.
President Trump said, not anymore. We're taking our backyard back.
They want to dictate commerce, culture, and development of all Latin American countries. And the next few weeks are going to be very important, not only for Venezuelan people, but for all peoples in Latin America and around the world.
Iran's in big trouble. We're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor.
It's important now to link all the US-led imperialist attack on the people of the world. People's resistance will show the world that they cannot do this. Our solidarity with the people of Venezuela, the people of Latin America, will stand a guard against what is happening. Millions of us will be with you.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido.
Hola a todos. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pass it to Bayo.
Muy buenas noches, estimada Carly. Muy buenas noches a todos quienes
Good afternoon, good night, Carly, and everybody who is today here. It's a joy to find you in this webinar, and we are waiting to start with the program.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Carly, and I am a secretariat member of the Resist US-led War Movement. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Carly y soy miembro del secretariado de Movimiento de Resistencia contra la Guerra liderado por Estados Unidos. Y hoy tenemos interpretación al inglés, portugués y español. Today we have interpretation available in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. Por favor, de seleccionar su canal de lenguaje que prefieres aquí en el Zoom. Please choose your language of preference for today's event. Everyone needs to choose an English, Spanish, or Portuguese channel before we start. And today there will be multiple languages. So just message our tech team if you have any questions. But welcome everyone to the event today. This is an important gathering of our movements, of our networks, of the people and the resistance movements around the world to say that we oppose the imperialist offensive led by the United States on Latin America and the Caribbean. And here we are together to prepare ourselves for a greater, deeper, and broader fight against the US-led war machine. Just one more note, today we will not have the unmute option available, but everyone is invited to please use the chat and the question and answer section to participate, to share your thoughts, and also to share the work that you are doing and will do for this month of action. Today we're also broadcasting live, so please share the live broadcast on Facebook and make yourselves ready to hear from speakers all over the world who are ready to take to the streets to fight and to build a movement of solidarity for the people of Venezuela, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Yeah, adelante, Bayo.
Bio?
Yes, I think we
Bien,
covered it. Adelante.
Muchas gracias, estimada Carly. Y bueno, desde el
Thank you so
capítulo
much, Carly. And
boliviano
from
también
the
de la
Bolivian
ILPS, un
chapter
saludo
of
cordial a todos.
ILPS,
Bien,
we want to
como
extend
tenemos
a warm greeting
previsto,
to everyone here
vamos
as
a
we have
tener la
planned.
participación
Today we're going to have
en una
the
presentación a
participation in a
cargo de
presentation
el compañero Eduardo Maturano.
by Eduardo
Él es médico
Maturano.
y profesor
He's a
universitario. Él
doctor
es
and a
miembro de la
university
sección
professor.
argentina de
He's
la
the member of the
Liga
Argentinian
Internacional de los
section
Pueblos, de la
of the
ILPS.
ILPS.
Y bueno, nos va a comentar el día de hoy
And
en
he's going
este
to let us
encuentro
know
internacional
today.
sobre la
He's going to
situación
talk
general
in
en
this
América
international
Latina y el
gathering
Caribe.
regarding the
Muy
situation of Latin
bienvenido,
America and the
estimado
Caribbean.
Eduardo. Muy
We
buenas
want to
noches.
welcome you, Eduardo.
Hola,
You
buenas
have
noches, ¿me
the floor.
escuchan?
Good night. Do you hear me,
Sí, se
all
escucha
of you?
fuerte y claro.
Yes, we can hear
Bueno,
you.
¿qué tal? Ahí envié hace un rato una ponencia por
I
escrito
send
porque me
some
pidieron
written
que hablase
words
pausado
since
y
I was
les
asked
voy a
to
leer la
speak
ponencia, no me
slowly,
gusta
so I'm
leer, me
going
gusta
to
hablar sin
read.
leer,
I
pero
like to
por el
speak
pedido de
without
ustedes voy a
reading, but
hacerlo
given
de
the
esta forma. En
request,
todo caso,
that is
después
what I'm going to do today.
hablaremos más
And
relajadamente. Voy
I
a
hope that
ajustarme a
afterwards
esto
we
que
could
mandé
have
¿no?
a more
a los
relaxed
organizadores de este encuentro.
conversation.
Dice, de la lógica del capital a un mundo en guerra.
From the logic of
Vivimos
capital
tiempos
to a
de
world at
fractura y
war,
conflicto
we live in
y que
times of
resulta
fracture and
precipitado
conflict,
anunciar que el
and
inicio
although it
de una
seems
tercera guerra
premature
mundial
to
bajo el
announce the
formato
start of a
clásico, es
third
innegable
World
afirmar que nos
War in the
encontramos
classic
inmersos
format,
en un
it's
mundo en guerra.
undeniable that we are
Las
immersed in a
hostilidades
world at
visibles y
war.
latentes se multiplican en
Hostilities, both
distintos
visible
escenarios,
and
generando un
latent,
mosaico
latent, are
de
multiplying
violencia
in
que
different
la mirada
scenarios,
geopolítica
generating a
tradicional
mosaic
intenta
of
clasificar
violence that
especulando
traditional
sobre esferas de
geopolitical
influencia.
analysis attempts to classify by
Brevemente, doctrinas
speculating
como
on
las de
spheres of
Monroe o
influence,
Besser para
reviving
designar
doctrines such as
patos
those of
o debates
Monroe and
acerca del
Besra
nacimiento de un orden
to
multipolar o
designate
bien la
backyards or debating
consolidación de
the
bloques
birth of a
belligerantes.
multipolar
Sin embargo,
order or the consolidation of
para comprender
belligerent
la verdadera
blocs.
naturaleza de esta
However, to
turbulencia
understand the
global,
true
es
nature
necesario
of this
trascender el
global
análisis
turbulence, it's
superficial de los
necessary to
movimientos
transcend the
en el tablero
superficial analysis of
internacional.
movements
Como
on the
oportunamente
international
señaló
stage.
Lenin, Marx no nos legó
As
la
Lenin
lógica
rightly pointed out,
parcial y más
Marx
concreto y
does not
determinante, la lógica
bequeath
del
us
capital.
an abstract logic,
Esta
but
lógica
something more
implacable de
concrete and
acumulación,
decisive, the logic
competencia
of
y
capital.
búsqueda de máxima rentabilidad
It is this
es la que
relentless
proporciona
logic of
el hilo
accumulation,
conductor para
competition,
analizar
and the
los
pursuit of
acontecimientos que
maximum
marcan nuestra época,
profitability that
desde las
provides
reformas económicas
the
domésticas
thread for
hasta los
analyzing the
conflictos
events
armados
that
más
mark our
abiertos.
area, from
Esta
domestic
lógica
economic
se
reforms
manifiesta en
to
primer
most
término
open
en la
armed
reconfiguración
conflicts.
interna
This
del
logic
Estado
manifests
para servir a los
itself first and
imperativos del
foremost
capital
in the
monopólico.
internal
Dejen
reconfiguration
que
of
lo
states
cuente
to
el
serve
caso de
the
Argentina
imperatives of
bajo el gobierno de
monopoly
Javier Milei.
capital. An
Aquí,
eloquent
bajo el
example is
lema
the
de
case
la
of
reducción de
Argentina
costos
under
de
the government
producción
of
se impulsa una
Milei.
modalidad
Here,
agresiva
under
de
the
capitalismo
slogan of reducing
desregulado.
production
La
cost,
creación
an
de un
aggressive
ministerio
form
de
of
desregulación
deregulated
simboliza, en
capitalism is being
definitiva, que
promoted.
se
The
materializa
creation of a
en reformas
ministry of
estructurales.
deregulation
La
symbolizes this
modificación de
offensive,
leyes
which is
fundamentales como la de las
materializing in
ciudades
structural
y la de los
reform.
bosques no es
The
mero
modification of fundamental
extremematismo, sino un
laws
acto
such as the
deliberado
glacier law and the
para
forest
liberar
law is not a mere
recursos
regulatory
naturales a la
adjustment.
explotación
It is a
intensiva de las
deliberate act to
megaminerías
free up
y los
natural
extractivismos,
resources for
eliminando barreras
intensive
ambientales que son
exploitation, mega
posibles como
mining, and
obstáculos para las
extractivism,
ganancias.
eliminating environmental barriers
Paralelamente,
that are
la
perceived
reforma
as
laboral
obstacles for
interna
profit.
tiene un
At
objetivo
the same
claro,
time,
el
the labor
abaratamiento de la
reform
fuerza de
is
trabajo,
in the making has a clear
flexibilizar derechos,
objective to make
precarizar
the
empleos y
workforce
debilitar
cheaper,
las negociaciones
making rights
colectivas
more
son
flexible,
mecanismos
making jobs
directos
more
para aumentar la
precarious,
tasa de
and weakening
explotación y
collective
por ende
bargaining and direct mechanisms for increasing the rate of exploitation and therefore profitability of big capital.
nuevas fronteras para la valorización, ya
New
sea saqueando la
frontiers for
naturaleza o intensificando la explotación humana.
On a global scale, the same logic describes an upward trajectory in the intensity of conflict. The recent cycle could be summarized as follows. The hegemonic globalization of the late 20th century gave way to regional or bilateral trade agreements when it began to show cracks. Then competition led to an open trade war with tariff increases and protectionist measures. Today, we are witnessing the next phase, the transition from trade war to outright war, with economic blockades, suffocating sanctions, and finally direct military action that constitutes plunder at bayonet point.
Es la expresión de que la competencia intercapitalista e interimperialista, cuando agota las vías pacíficas para garantizar el flujo de recursos, mercados y plusvalía, recurre a la fuerza. Ningún caso ilustra esta dinámica con mayor crudeza que la agresión continua contra Venezuela.
The bombing of Venezuelan ships and territory by the U.S., the kidnapping of President Maduro and his wife, presented as detention, and the explicit declaration of intent to appropriate the country's oil are not isolated episodes of a logic of an aggressive foreign policy, but rather eloquent and brutal demonstration of the internal logic of capital in its face of open predation. Latin America and the Caribbean historically have been considered as zones of influence and are the target of an aggression that seeks to reaffirm control over strategic resources and discipline that any nation that attempts to exercise its sovereignty over them. The target today is Venezuela, but the warning is clear and is directed to all of those who resist the empire's attempts to subjugate them. What is at stake in this conflict is not only a geopolitical rivalry between powers, but the defense of a global order that guarantees the free circulation and accumulation of capital, even if it means destroying rights, ecosystems, and entire nations. Therefore, we are not simply facing isolated conflicts or mere rivalry between states. We are witnessing the contemporary forms in which the logic of capital unfolds in a context of crisis and the exhaustion of previous models. From predatory deregulation in a country like Argentina to wars over resources such as the one in Venezuela, the same driving principle is at work. The insatiable need to lower cost, open up new fields of investment, control raw material, and eliminate any barrier, be it environmental law, labor right, or a sovereign government that stands in the way of valorization. Understanding this is crucial because it frees us from the fragmentary interpretation and offers us an overall view. The world at war in which we live in is, in essence, the world of capital taking its fundamental contradiction to its most violent expression. Peace, in this sense, will not be possible without confronting and radically transforming this logic that turns everything, nature, human labor, and nations, into commodities or obstacles to be removed. The interpretation of our time, in short, must begin and end with this understanding. This was the brief introduction to the issue that we are facing today, what is that is affecting our sister nation, Venezuela. And I think that this is a trigger to come all to a common perspective regarding this issue. I want to accentuate the discussion of geopolitics and bringing to the logic of capital, which I think is more adequate and that can be helpful to create an understanding that can allow us to speak on a local, regional, and maybe global liberation. This would be my presentation.
Mil gracias. Sí, sí, sí.
No, decía si no vamos a hacer alguna suerte
I was
de
asking if we
intercambio
are going to have
abierto
some
de
sort
esto
of exchange, or if we want to talk about
que acabo de
this a little
manifestar.
bit more, what I just said.
Muchas gracias, querido Eduardo.
Thank you so much, Eduardo.
Agradecidos por
We're
por
so
la
thankful
exposición.
for
Bueno,
what you
desde
just exposed
gracias por
to
informarnos la
us.
situación. Bueno,
Thank you for informing us on the
no sé si se
situation.
me escucha, tengo
I
un
don't know if you
retorno.
can hear me. I'm having a
Sí se escucha.
echo.
Yo
Estimada
apago el
Carly,
Yes, we
micrófono.
can hear
¿puedes
you.
continuar, por favor?
Carly, if you can
Mientras
take it
solucionamos
from
esto.
here while
Sí, no
I
hay
take
problema.
the
Sí,
echo.
muchísimas gracias,
Yes,
Eduardo,
of course.
por
Thank you so
la
much,
información
Eduardo, for
de
your
la situación
information
política actual.
regarding the
Y es
political
verdad que en todo el
situation.
mundo la
And
gente está
it's true.
diciendo no a la guerra contra
Everywhere
Venezuela.
we're seeing that people are
Y
opposing
para
the war
todos, we are
on
so
Venezuela.
inspired that there are so many people here. We say no to the lies, the sanctions, and this militarism against Venezuela. As we all know, and as Eduardo helped us to understand deeper, we must gather here together to condemn the increase in US military power against Venezuela, which has led to these circumstances where US imperialism has kidnapped the president Nicolas Maduro and the first combatant Celia Flores from Venezuela with their attempted invasion, the bombing of military personnel in civilian areas, and in which reports have come out that over 100 people have been killed in this attack. And this act is just the latest in a months-long campaign by the Trump regime to blockade and declare war on the Venezuelan people to seize their territory and sovereign resources, and to carry out or attempt to carry out a regime change that we know that the Venezuelan people will not allow and are resisting every day. And that's why people all around the world are uniting together with the International League of People Struggle, the Resist US-led War Movement, the International Women's Alliance, Bayan in the Philippines, and the Philippines-Bolivarian Venezuelan Friendship Association. And this is to launch our month of action in solidarity with Venezuela, starting January 15th till February 15th. So that gives us the context of why we're here today, why we're here from all of these speakers to inspire and to broaden and to fight together and expose these US attacks. And my comrade Bayo and I will let's see, is your audio working again, Bayo? ¿Está escuchando o está funcionando tu micrófono?
Bio, is your mic working?
Okay. Te lo paso para presentar a la próxima
I'm gonna give
presentadora.
you the floor so you can present the next person. Yes, sorry. I'm sorry for the technical inconvenience. We have more voices from Venezuela. Today here with us, we have Diva Guzman, who was the Minister of Women and a Deputy of the National Assembly of Venezuela, and is currently responsible for women in the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV. She's a bachelor in social work, and with her, we're going to have an exchange regarding what is happening in Venezuela.
Good morning, good evening, everybody. It's 1 p.m. in Venezuela. I'd like to thank all of the movements around the world that have expressed in the past weeks that to us have felt like years because of all of the changes we have seen in the past period. All of these expressions of support have been received by us in our hearts. And these expressions are not just important for our party, but for our, our movement that dreams of Chavez and Bolivar, that have dedicated their lives in the past 25 years to carry out the development of this revolution. And we say in every microphone that is opened up to us that we are going through a situation that we haven't even included in our constitution, which is the kidnapping of our president and our first lady. And beyond being the first lady, the leader, she is a leader who built the Bolivarian revolution together with Chavez, together with President Maduro, and together with many men and women who have raised the flags of the left and of the revolution in this country. Today, Venezuela has not lost its memory. It's looking at the notes of history of why we continue fighting, why we continue as Chavistas fighting. And we use this constitution, which was transformed in 1999 through the revolutionary movement, which was founded by combatant Chavez. And based on the inspiration the of the revolution, which Chavez used to educate generations, I want to remember that, and I want to remember why we are here and why we are in this situation, which is included in all of our development plans. We've had 5 development plans, and the last one is based on the 7 transformations, and all of the plans of Venezuela put as a central element the use of our oil and our minerals at the service of the people and of human rights. And this is something that Chavez did to respond to the needs of the people who had been abandoned in the history of the country, in the history where political parties had abandoned the people. And this has shown how this movement has built class consciousness, a consciousness of the supreme value of being Venezuelan. We coexist here, the right. And with this movement, a right wing, which was a traitor of the country, which is pro-imperialist, that admire and dream of being like other countries, but don't promote a policy of development. And that right-wing party has promoted a process that tried to install bases so that fascism would take over power in Venezuela. And in each historical moment since 2002, from the moment that Chavez took power in 2014, 2015, 2016, where the marimbas were installed, the people have always responded with peace. In 2017, we had a process to establish a constitution for peace, and that was able to eradicate violence from politics, which has always characterized movements from the right. As you know, in our recent history, we have faced very difficult circumstances which have been imposed through the blockade and unilateral coercive measures. With the death of combatant Chavez, we suffered a very deep loss. And we know that our leader Chavez was murdered. And there's evidence of this, and we know it occurred with the death of Chavez. And President Nicolas Maduro, who took power through the orientation of Chavez, has had to face various stages, not just political violence, which the right in Venezuela tries to impose as political culture, but also extraordinary violence and violence that we never imagined as Venezuelan people but that have perhaps been faced by other people such as Cuba. And we show and send our solidarity to Cuba. Cuba has faced an economic blockade and that has faced a resistance, creative resistance by the Cuban people. In each electoral process where there has been a consultation towards the people, we have also always seen a victory of the revolutionary process, and the right always loses. In this struggle, the president Nicolás Maduro was able to create strategies so that Venezuela could move forward from the consequences and effects in daily life for Venezuelan people. As a result of the more than 1,000 measures of blockade and coercive measures, and how this led to large levels of external migration, which then led people to face extreme levels of xenophobia, and which are affecting the daily lives of Venezuelan people. Overcoming this process up to 2018, the president was able to present his candidacy, and this leads to a new process, a new moment where the coercive measures were taken back. The empire imposes its norms and its rules, and then wishes to have the effects and the consequences be for people to submit to them. But what we saw with Venezuela is that the peoples would continue, despite any types of conditions that were imposed, would continue to defend their determination to be free and sovereign. And this led to a process that was led by a current interim president, where there's a process of redistribution of wealth, and the struggle is carried out in a more effective way to those imperial sanctions. And our responsibility has not just to be within the government, but in processes of dialogue and negotiation, with, which were carried out in Mexico and Barbados. And we were able to face the right wing party of Venezuela. And what we saw was that what we had to do was to take adversity and transform it for our own development. And we always knew our political leader gave us the guidance that the empire will never cede to the petitions of our people. And in 2024, we faced an electoral moment which was very significant. And the decision of our party and our revolutionary party was to select a leader who would represent the voices of the working class, a president that would represent the noble people that comes from the working class neighborhoods of Caracas. That is a political leader who had a complete and holistic formation and training by Chavez. And that political training allowed him to have the support of the people in 2024. And he begins his third process. Many of you have accompanied us with different moments of the struggle in Venezuela against imperialism. And this was a moment where we had to face fascism in the country. 2 women were murdered. Fascism made itself manifest by killing 2 women. And we responded not with more violence, with the assurance that we had the political power and had the support of the people. And Nicolás Maduro was able to initiate his third process with more commitment to popular power and to move forward with this popular power. And 2024 was the moment in which we saw the face of fascism. And the world knew with its name and with its last name, the name of fascism in Venezuela. So 2024 closes with a popular victory, and through a constitutional mandate, went through to elections once again in 2025 in a very difficult scenario. And we had elections once again where the National Assembly was renewed and 24 mayor's office and government offices were renewed. So Venezuela was entering a period of political stability because there wasn't going to be elections until 4 years later, according to the Constitution. And the movement had a victory, had an overwhelming victory. We won all of the elections, the large majority of governments at the regional level, mayor's offices, and the opposition, which participated and it decides to participate in democracy, lost. And fascism actually decided to abandon this process of democracy. And they have been carrying out for many years a process of lobbying for interventionism and to be able to support what eventually happened in our country on the 3rd of January. 2025 was closed, if I don't remember, if my memory is not failing me, on the 30th of December, we had a victory by the president with a school of feminism. And that school, with that message that we embrace, this led to a message from President Maduro that this was the year of women. I know the president, and I've known him for many years. He is my mentor. He taught me that we as women, as Black women, as young people can do politics. And I know the president as a spiritual man. And at that time, the president said that we as women needed to carry out a process of campaign. And with that message, we closed the year. And with those wise reflections, we closed last year. And Venezuela, which is a country where there's a lot of joy with the process of sharing, with parties, with joy, on that tragic night of the 3rd of January, we were awakened by the very terrible situation that at 2 in the morning there was a process of bombing here in the city of Caracas, in Miranda, in Huayna, and it was a confusing moment, a very difficult moment. We haven't lived through bombing before. Venezuela has a history which we learn in school, which is a history of a liberatory army that gave its life, gave half of the lives of the army to carry out the process of independence with Bolivar. And this is the doctrine that inspires our struggle. It's not the doctrine of war. Yes, we prepare our people for resistance because, as we know, since 2025, Venezuela had been dealing with the imperial threat in the Caribbean, not just Venezuela, but also other countries from the Caribbean, where fisher people were killed from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries. These people were killed by the imperial forces by declaring that this was a narco state or a narco terrorist state. In 2026, which begins with this very terrible event, represents for the Venezuelan people a moment of strengthening and a moment of political praxis. We have a leader who taught us how to be free and independent and sovereign. And we have a situation right now, which I was saying at the beginning, which is the fact that a president is kidnapped in the early mornings of the day without understanding what was going on concretely uh, in later hours of the morning, where we started receiving information about what was going out and all of the noise of the airplanes and the people who were screaming in the areas that were being bombed, the cries and the tears of mothers and grandmothers who were crying out and running, and where the drones were chasing people and shooting at our people. We will never forget that. But at 3, 4 in the morning, the Minister of Foreign Relations eh, shared a communication where we were able to start to understand the situation. Then the Minister of Defense spoke on national news outlets, and after 5 a.m., around 5, 6 a.m., the Vice President Delcy takes on the task of informing the country that the president and the first lady had been kidnapped. This produced a very strong human response of anger, of sadness, of impotence, and the fact that this connects us as a revolutionary people to start to try to understand what occurred. And there were areas of Caracas that didn't have electricity, that didn't have communication. It was difficult to understand what was happening. And over the next hours, we decided to mobilize, to come together, to hug each other, to embrace each other, and to respond to the people with the strength that we have had as a people. We have been in the streets and we have been demanding the liberation of our president. We're demanding signs signs of life from the president, and the first lady was actually attacked. She was hit in the face and in her ribs, and she's an older woman who could be our mother. And imagining that aggression, those attacks to her directly, is horrific. But there's a people who is mobilized and who's struggling not just at the legal level, not just in the streets, not just on the communication front, but also maintaining the governance of the country. Our interim president was presenting the plans for the countries in the face of the situation. Our reality is that we have a president who is kidnapped. Our reality is that we have faced the effects of the imperial threat. And the reality is that we're going to maintain and do everything for peace and governability in the country and to have the safe return of our president and the first lady. Thank you so much for this explanation, which is so detailed and necessary. Just one more question. How is the government of Venezuela seeking international solidarity in very effective ways? What would be the best way to express and to strengthen international solidarity with the resistance in Venezuela? Please take a moment here to invite us all who are leaders, representatives of different movements, collectives, trade unions, where the League is present. We are hearing you. What the president has always asked us to do is to see us as a great nation, a large nation that doesn't have spiritual borders, even if there are legal borders. And that Bolivarian vision has to be active within us. That inspiration has to be present for us to be able to move forward. As we were taught by the president, we first invoke our soul and our spirit. And the spirit has to have the conviction that we will be victorious. As a generation, as humanity, we are going to see the empire fall. And we will also put our strength into that effort.
Se ha propuesto la creación de un gran movimiento mundial y nacional, tráiganlo de vuelta. Eso tiene una interpretación en inglés, yo no hablo inglés, pero quien pueda traducirlo, tráiganlo de vuelta. En este gran movimiento,
we have been demanding that he be returned, and we have had the initiative of creating international brigades of women in solidarity with Venezuela. These are efforts that are needed, and there's different spaces that continue to call people, but especially the way in which we have structured the defense at the legal level. What we're asking of international movements is to carry out this struggle at the level of communication, to share the truth of Venezuela, the position of Venezuela, and to accompany our interim president to also have the support of social movements around the world and to not abandon the street. Some people underestimate the strength of social movements when they take public space, when they take the streets, when they raise their voice, when they manifest themselves culturally, protest culturally. And we can't undervalue those expressions. We were able to do that. We were able to have a revolution of 25 years thanks to all of those efforts. And we're calling other movements and peoples to do this and to transform their societies. And we're asking all of the movements of the different sectors not just to work with our embassies, which are bringing together all of this effort, but also to ask you to never doubt who Celia Flores is and who Nicolás Maduros is. Let's not doubt of Let's never doubt the integrity of Nicolás Maduro and our First Lady, and to trust the social leadership of Venezuela through the work that you can do through communication and through popular protests and demonstrations that can support this leader that we want. It's the leader that we have elected. And in any circumstance, Venezuela will carry out these battles.
Diplomática porque nos asiste la razón histórica y los equipos jurídicos están haciendo su trabajo. Pero sin
And
ustedes como movimiento
our
social,
leaders are
entonces
doing
nuestras
the
fuerzas como movimiento
diplomatic
social
and legal work.
también
But
pudieran
without you,
desmayar.
they will not be able to continue. So we are counting on you for your expressions of sorority and solidarity, which will be very welcomed by a people who know that they are in the right and who are
Así es,
struggling
amiga.
for the
Muchas
sovereignty of
gracias
Venezuela.
por las palabras muy conmovedoras y por tu ayuda en entender y desmentir los mitos
For
de
your
que hay
help
una
in
guerra instalada en Estados
understanding
Unidos,
and all of
que
the
no hay
US
ninguna
propaganda.
justificación del
There's
ataque
no
de Maduro
justification that
a tu
explains
país,
the
a
attack
tu proceso
that happened on
revolucionario
your
y la
country and on
censura que
your
ocurrió hacia el
revolutionary
pueblo
process.
venezolano.
And the
Sigue
Venezuelan people
luchando
are
contra las
inspiring to
violaciones de
us.
leyes de
You that are
soberanía
fighting against the
del
violations of the
derecho, bueno, de vivir en
sovereignty
paz, de
and the
construir nuestra
human right of
sociedad
just living in
y
peace and building a
de seguir
different
adelante
society
y
and
luchar,
moving forward
luchar y
and
resistir
struggling and
y
resisting
ganar un futuro mejor
and
para
winning
todos.
a better
Entonces,
future for
muchísimas
everyone.
gracias. Estamos
So
muy
thank you so
honrados
much. We
de
are so
tenerte
honored to
y
have you
estamos en la
here.
lucha.
And we stand in
Enseguida.
solidarity with you and in your struggle.
Venceremos. Que
We will
viva el pueblo
prevail.
venezolano.
Long live the Venezuelan people.
Que viva
Long
y que
live
lo regresen a
Nicolas
su
and
país.
Chavez. And we hope that
Okay,
he
thank you so
returns
much.
back to the country.
We're so honored to have you here with us and to bring out the spirit that you talked about, the humanity and the love and the fight for a different future. We have a cultural offering to hear from one of our comrades from Canada. We'll hear next from Normand Raymond of Montreal, Canada, who is a singer, songwriter, musician, translator, cultural columnist for a newspaper, and has been inspired by the Nueva Canción movement and Nueva Trova movements. He knows that songs don't have borders, and its music can be a tool for social transformation and solidarity around the world. So Norman will be performing America Latina Obrera by a singer-songwriter from Venezuela, Ali Primera. And so, Norman, the floor is yours.
Muy buenas a todos
Hi,
y
everyone.
a todas, donde se encuentre a través del mundo. Ahora les voy a interpretar una canción bastante contundente. Es con respecto a lo que pasó, a lo que sucedió en Venezuela últimamente y que lamentablemente puede volver a suceder en otras partes del mundo con este loco de Trump. Es una canción necesaria de Ali Primera que lleva por título América Latina, Obrera. Que tú te levantes, América Latina obrera, no sé por qué no lo haces. El yanqui teme a la revolución, el yanqui teme el grito, yanqui go home, yanqui go home. Y viene remontando el Amazonas, el grito rebelde del carioca, y viene a unirse con su hermano, el obrero venezolano. América Latina obrera, América Latina obrera, América Latina. Levanta en tus manos la bandera de la revolución, América Latina obrera, y grita con fuerza, Yankee go home, Yankee go home. Gringo, go home. Los obreros de América Latina te dicen, gringo, go home. Yankee, go home. América Latina obrera y grita con fuerza, Yankee go home, Yankee go home, Yankee go home.
Muchísimas gracias a Norman por su
Thank you so much,
interpretación
Norman,
de
for your
esta bella
interpretation
canción
of this
emblemática
beautiful
que no podría
song
ser más oportuna en este momento.
that's
El pueblo de
historic.
Venezuela saliendo movilizado a defender su soberanía
Regarding
y
this
bueno, los pueblos del
Venezuelan
mundo
people that have
también a un solo
mobilized
grito,
defending their sovereignty and all of the peoples
como la
who have
canción América
joined in
Latina
a
Obrera lo dice,
single yell
Yankee
as
Go Home.
the
Creo
song
que
that
ha sido
Norman
muy
is
pertinente y
has just
bueno,
interpreted
gracias a
Yankee Go
Norman. Vamos
Home.
a
So I think
continuar
this is very,
ahora con
very
el
telling.
programa.
Thank you, Norman. We're
Sigue a
going to
continuación un
continue.
mensaje de solidaridad desde nuestro capítulo
And
regional del
we
Asia
have a
Pacífico
message
de
of
la
solidarity from
Liga
our
de los
chapter
Pueblos.
of
La compañera Sara Raimundo
Asia Pacific,
con
our
Bayan
comrade
Philippines,
Sara
que
Raimundo,
son parte de
chair
la
of the
Asociación de Amistad
Philippine-Bolivarian
Latino-Bolivariana
Venezuela
de
Friendship
Venezuela, y
Association.
tenemos un
And
mensaje
we have a
de parte de
message
ellos.
from
Adelante, por favor.
them.
Okay. Binabati ko po ang mga kasama mula sa Philippines-Bolivarian Venezuela Friendship Association na nagdala ng mga flaglets ngayong umaga sa ating protesta.
From the Philippines, warm greetings to all fellow fighters for sovereignty and justice. The histories of the Philippines and Venezuela are forged in the fire of anti-colonial resistance. Today, we stand unyieldingly with the Bolivarian people against the U.S. empire's savage war, sanctions, blockades, disinformation, and the brazen kidnapping of President Nicolas Maduro and First Combatant Celia Flores on fabricated charges. Rooted in the rotting Monroe Doctrine, this aggression targets Venezuela's defiance, its communes, its resolve to thread the socialist path despite crippling and illegal sanctions, its BRICS bid, its partnerships with China, Russia, and Iran, and its rock-solid support for Cuba and Palestine. The Philippines-Bolivarian Venezuela Friendship Association condemns this hybrid assault and demands lift all illegal sanctions, free President Maduro and Celia Flores now, hands off Venezuela. Our struggles against U.S. imperialism mirror each other. Against U.S. militarism and plunder here, imperialist siege there. Together, we defend communes, social gains, national sovereignty, and self-determination. No pasarán, imperialism will fall. Venceremos.
From Venezuela to the Philippines, stop the U.S. war machine. From Venezuela to the Philippines, stop the U.S. war machine. Thank you to Sara Raimundo and to the Asia Pacific chapter of the International League of People Struggle. We know that the comrades in the Philippines are also experiencing the brute force of imperialism on their homeland, especially in the countryside, where a struggle for land is being waged. We know that the geopolitical interest of the US in the Philippines, being south of China, tramples on the Philippines' land and sovereignty and the people in the process. So that is why today we are an international struggle in solidarity with the people of Venezuela against the US war machine. And if we see on this call, we have people today from Australia, the Philippines, from Ecuador, from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Europe, from the United States. And everyone is here today united to stand in solidarity against this imperialist US assault on our comrades and on our siblings across Latin America. So, next, to keep up our energy, we invite another cultural offering from a special group called the Harps in Harmony. It's a Guatemalan group founded more than 20 years ago under the direction of Maestro Brendy Bosch, and it currently consists of several members of the Bosch Escalante family. So they will be bringing their harp music. And today we'll be hearing Alma Llanera by composer Pedro Elias Gutierrez. So please welcome Arpas en Armonía.
Muchísimas gracias. Agradecemos a
Thank you so
la
much. We're
familia
so
Boj
grateful for the
Escalante
family
en
Boj
Arpas y en Armonía
Escalante
por la
in Arpa sin
presentación de
Armonía
este
for the
hermoso
presentation
número
of this
musical.
beautiful
El pueblo de
musical
Guatemala también
um,
se suma con nuestros compañeros de
gift
Venezuela.
from Guatemala.
Ahora
Guatemala is
escucharemos
also
de
standing in
otra voz
solidarity with
desde
our
Venezuela también.
brothers.
Our comrades in Mexico are also with Venezuela, and we have received a poem from Pablo González Loyola, a leader in ILPS Mexico and member of the International Coordination Committee.
Fraternales saludos afectuosos y revolucionarios.
Revolutionary and affectionate greetings for all of you.
Liga Internacional de Lucha de los Pueblos, así como a las hermanas y hermanos del pueblo de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Saludos de la Unidad Cívica
We
Felipe
send
Carrillo,
you
Roberto
greetings
González. Los saludamos desde la calle Frida Kahlo, Colonia Amalia Solórzano,
from the Frida
Estado de
Kahlo
nuestra nación
Street.
mexicana, para participar y unir nuestra voz a esta jornada.
so that we can join our voices in this anti-imperialist day with the poem whose beauty sadly became a reality. This poem is dedicated to those who give their lives and to the martyrs of dawn of January 3rd in 2026, when we commemorate the 102nd anniversary of the fall of the great benefactor of the proletariat, Felipe Carrillo Puerto. The poem is titled Let Us Walk Homeland by Otto Rene Castillo. So that my steps won't weep, so that my words won't bleed, I sing. For your borderland face of the soul that was born in my hands, I sing. To say that you have grown clear within me in the bitter bones of my voice, I sing. So that no one will say my land with all the decision of longing, I sing. For what must not die, your people, I sing. I launch myself to walk upon my voice to tell you, you, question of fruits and wild butterflies, you will not lose your step on the scaffolding of my cry, because there is a Mayan potter in your heart, who beneath the sea, within the star, smoking in the roots, throbbing the world, entangles your name in my words. Let's walk, my country. I'll walk with you. I'll descend into whatever abysses you tell me to. I'll drink your bitter chalices. I must go blind so that you may have eyes. I must lose my voice so that you may sing. I must die, if necessary, so that you may not die. So that your face may emerge, brightening on the horizon, in every flower that blooms from my bones. It has to be this way, without question. I'm tired of carrying your tears with me. Now, I only want to accompany you to the lightning, always accompanied by agricultural farmers and union workers, by whoever has a heart to accompany you. Little homeland, my sweet torment, I sing the song in my throat since the centuries of the rebellious corn. I have carried you with me for 1,000 years with my small heart of the future that begins to open its wings at the start of the morning. Let's go, homeland. Let's walk. We will accompany you. The revolutionary poet Otto Rene Castillo. Your land is yours and you will recover it. Nothing useful to society is possible without the workers. Felipe Carrillo Puerto. If you want to be a bird, fly. But if you want to be a worm, crawl. But don't scream when I crush you. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Land and liberty, General Emiliano Zapata Salazar. Long live the days of anti-imperialist struggle. Long live the liberation of the peoples of Latin America and the world. Down with imperialism.
A
visitors from
continuación, nos
Venezuela. We're going to
gustaría
hear
dar
from
la
another person in
bienvenida
Venezuela.
a
We're going
Luina
to greet
Jennifer Jaramillo Torres. Ella
Luina
es
Jennifer
profesora y
Jaramillo
líder
Torres. She's a
comunitaria
teacher
en
and a
Caracas,
community
para que
leader
nos
in
cuente
Caracas,
directamente
so that she can
cuál es
let us
la situación
know
actual en
the
Venezuela
current
también.
situation
Muy
in
bienvenida,
Venezuela.
estimada Luina.
Welcome.
We also have a question. We want to ask you, where were you on January 3rd, and how did you experience those terrible events?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First of all, I want to speak in English to say hello, but you know it's not my native language, so then I'm going to speak in Spanish. Just welcome to the people who is here to support us, and give a really big thanks from the part of Venezuela people. Well, right now, as I yesterday said, I'm Luina Jaramillo. I'm a Venezuelan teacher. I live in Caracas. I'm part of the PCUB party. Okay, now I'm going to speak in Spanish because it's my native language. Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Luina Jaramillo.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Luina Jaramillo. I'm a Venezuelan teacher.
Venezolana. Aquí muchos me conocen.
Many of you know me. I've worked in different international guests that have had the will to come to Venezuela. So on January 3rd, I was, I was in my home in Caracas. I live in La Cota 905 neighborhood. I was with my husband and with my kids, and we were all resting. We were organizing the schedule for classes that were soon to be started. And we suddenly heard a very weird noise. We came out of bed and we tried to look outside and we reached for social media. All of us Venezuelan people have a lot of communication, not only in social media, but in person too. So we were all speaking. I think most people were at home, maybe sleeping. It was very early in the morning, and this was a day to rest. We were in a space, you know, New Year's and Christmas was a little while ago, so we were just like getting back our energy.
Thank you for being here with us this morning, this evening for us, for some of us. We know that you're a part of the communal system, which is very important in Venezuela. So for people who don't know the system, how does it work and what is its important in the process of building a strong and independent Venezuela? As Chavez taught us, we are building a communal system, which is the basis to build the state. We have the base, the middle, and the superior part of this pyramid. We have the direct contact with the communities, with each of the families that are part of the communities in Venezuela, and we know directly their needs and we know how to respond to those needs. And we try to take the maximum joy which is included in the Treaty of Bolivar and with the words of our father Chavez, to take the largest amount of joy for each of our comrades in Venezuela. So communes are an association that, if you spoke legally, would be a non-for-profit association. And the objective is for of us to reach our social goals. So each community, each jurisdiction has communal councils that then form a commune. So where I am in Misiones, we have different types of communes, even though they're part of the same neighborhood. There's a community of teachers, and each of us has different needs. So, for example, the commune of teachers has common interests, and then we present a project. So communes or communal councils are a form of government where people have voice, vote, skills, and we also need to mention that to be part of the commune, you don't need to be part of the Chavista movement. Any person can participate as long as they have the intention of acting well and improving.
Gracias, Luina.
Thank you, Luina.
Si bien las sanciones han tenido un impacto terrible en la población, ¿cómo han ayudado
Even
las
though
comunas
sanctions have had a terrible impact on Venezuela, how have communes responded to help overcome that situation? I normally say that we in Venezuela are extraordinary. To give a small example, but for the community, it's very important. In Venezuela, we depend on methane gas, which is used to produce our food, to be able to cook. And with the beginning of the sanctions, we had a very big oil reserve, but everything that had to do with the machinery were owned by foreign companies. And this started to create issues for the distribution of gas. So in the commune, we created a schedule and we organized the efforts so that we were saying every 15 days we need so much gas and we're going to distribute it in such a way so that there's no lack of gas in any part of Venezuela. In the socialist community of the state of Ara, they are producing meat, they're producing milk, they're producing the food for their animals without depending on any foreign government or power. And there are many cases like this. And the communes are working to reduce dependence in all parts of Venezuela. There's an issue with Luina's connection. The interpreter can't continue because Luina's connection has been lost. So the role of the commune in the face of sanctions is essential because it's the guarantee that the people aren't affected as much by the sanctions. It reduces the impact to the minimum.
Thank you, Luina. This is our last question. How are the people demanding the return of their president and the first combatant?
Well, that is a hard question, you know. Es una pregunta dura porque las manifestaciones de voluntad han sido
This is a
muchas
hard
en las
question
iglesias,
because
en las
many
calles, en
people
las
have
escuelas. Bueno, ahorita
shown
mismo estoy en la
their
universidad, soy encargada de un
expressions
grupo
in
o estoy formando a
universities
un
and
grupo de
schools.
docentes que van a
Right
salir
now, I'm
a las aulas en Venezuela.
in a
Y la
university
primera
here,
semana de las aulas de Venezuela
and in the
es
first
explicar qué
week
sucede, cómo
in the
sucede, por qué
classrooms of
sucede. Y no
Venezuela,
solamente para
we
que
were
los niños
explaining what
entiendan,
was
la gente salga
happening,
a la
why,
calle
what
con
was
una
it
pancarta,
happening,
es porque
not
nosotros
just to
necesitamos que
invite students to
nuestra
go to the
gente tenga la
streets, but
convicción
also
de que lo que
because we
estamos
need
pidiendo es
our
lo que se
people
necesita.
to have
Entonces,
the
cada uno de
conviction that
nosotros
what
en
we are
Sierra
demanding
lo
is
ha
what
hecho.
is needed.
Los médicos desde los hospitales asistiendo a
Doctors
su
have done it
horario,
in the
cumpliendo con el
hospitals,
deber del médico.
going to
Nosotros en
their
las
work,
escuelas acabamos de
continuing with their
retornar el lunes
work.
pasado, cada
We
una de
have
las
gone back to
escuelas
classes
hablando
last
de qué
Monday, and in
más se
each of the
puede hacer,
schools,
cómo lo
we're
hacemos,
talking
las
about what we can
manifestaciones
do,
internacionales en Francia, en Italia, en
what is
París.
being done,
Nosotros
and
con
all of
gusto
the
vamos,
international
agradecemos, le damos ánimo,
demonstrations in France, in
sobre
Germany,
todo
and Italy. We're
no
very
tenemos
grateful
perdido
for
el
them.
ánimo. La
Venezuela has
única
not
característica para nosotros
lost
tener
its
una
joy
protesta tan
and
grande como
its
es el hecho de
strength
que se hayan llevado a nuestro presidente en cada esquina de
despite
Venezuela. Hay
these
una persona
this
diciendo lo
very
queremos
sad
ahora.
fact that our president
Decirte
was
cómo
kidnapped.
hace el venezolano para pedirlo es
So
abarcar mucho. Son
responding your
muchísimas las
question of
maneras.
how we have
Pero
demanded the return of our
más que
president,
convencida
it's
que
a very
los
broad
que queremos
question
que el
because
presidente
we've done
vuelva
so
son
much,
muchos, son muchos,
but
son
we've done
muchos.
so
Y
many
que
things to be able to
nosotros
demand
tomamos
the
una
return
selfie,
of
lo
our
enviamos por
president.
redes sociales y
We take
ustedes con
photos, we
internet
send
pueden
it by social
ver que
media,
se hace el trabajo
and there you
que
can
nosotros
see what
hacemos.
all of the work that we're doing.
Gracias, Luina. Parece que el pueblo
Thank you,
venezolano se
Luina.
ha
It
organizado
seems
y
that
preparado
the
para
Venezuelan
responder.
people have organized and have
Gracias por sus
prepared to
palabras
respond.
conmovedores y
So thank
por
you so
ayudar
much for
a
your
desmentir
words,
los
which
mitos
are
y las
very
mentiras que
moving
los Estados
and
Unidos han
help us
estado
to
propagando para justificar el ataque a Venezuela y llevar
belie the
a
lies
cabo
that
un cambio de régimen.
the United States
Nos inspira a
government has been
nosotros, el pueblo de
imposing about the
Venezuela,
reality in
que sigue
Venezuela.
luchando contra
So
estas
we see a people in
violaciones
Venezuela that
de la
continues
soberanía
to
de su
struggle
país,
against these
de su
violations
gente,
of their
de su
sovereignty,
pueblo.
of their people.
Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy
Thank you so much for being
y
here
darnos esa
today
información.
and for sharing that
Ahora no.
information.
Gracias, gracias a ustedes y bueno,
Thank you to you
seguirle
all.
pidiendo apoyo,
And we would
colaboración.
continue
No
to
dejo de ir
ask
porque Venezuela no
for
está de mi vida.
your support,
Pedirles
not on
que
our knees
sigan
because we are
acompañándonos
not
en
on our
este
knees,
proceso
but we do
y
ask that
como
you
les decía
continue to
ayer, en
accompany
algún
us in this
momento
process.
la jefa Tania, la encargada de internacionales del PSOE
And
o
if
jefe Iván Gil
Tanya
o cualquier
or Ivan
viceministro,
Gil
el
or
Álvaro,
any
inviten a
vice minister
Venezuela a venir,
or
no
Alvaro,
tengan
if they
miedo,
can
no
be,
tengan miedo
uh,
porque
if
nosotros
they
estamos
decide to
aquí
travel to
garantizando que
Venezuela,
Venezuela es
please don't be
libre,
afraid.
que Venezuela
We're
está
here, we're
dispuesto
doing
para
all of our
atenderlos a
efforts to
ustedes estando aquí y que las
guarantee that
alertas
Venezuela is
internacionales no
free
son tantas y
and
deben
safe.
venir ustedes a
And
constatar
so,
cuál
if
es la
you want
realidad
to
de nuestro
visit
pueblo. Y no
Venezuela and
solamente
see
para
the reality of
condenarlo,
our
sino porque
people,
nosotros
please
necesitamos que
come.
sean ustedes los que
We
muestren
need
la verdad
you
afuera,
to
que sean
come
ustedes los que
and
vengan a decir,
show
mira,
this truth to
no es
the outside
solamente Luina
world.
Jaramillo, que es comunera, que
To show
es
that it's
Somos
not just
Venezuela,
Luina
que es parte del
Jaramilla
partido,
who is
sino mira,
part of the
esta es
commune,
la
who's part of the
realidad.
party,
Aquí está la
but to actually
gente
show this is the
comiendo su
reality.
pastelito en una
Here are
esquina para ir a
people
trabajar, la
eating in a
gente está
on the
asistiendo a su
corner.
colegio.
Here are
Eso
people
es
getting ready to go
importante
to
que ustedes
work.
como internacionales,
Here are
como la
people
parte de
getting
afuera,
ready to
muestren
go
que
to
quizás
school. And it's important that
lo
you,
que se
as
puede
the
escuchar es,
people
no,
who
esta
are
gente
in
está
other countries,
parcializada, esta
can come
gente es del
and
PSOE,
show the
esta
reality
gente
of
es una
Venezuela.
diputada como la diputada Diva que acaba de intervenir, o esta es una comunera que la comuna la
So
sostiene,
that
la mantiene, no sé
people
qué,
don't think,
pero que
oh, this
ustedes
is
muestren la
a member of
realidad
the
real,
commune or this is a member of
valga la
the
redundancia, ¿no? La
government
realidad
like diva who spoke, but for you to actually show the reality of Venezuela, to show that that the reality is different to what
Sí,
they're
no,
saying.
exactamente. El pueblo de Venezuela, como dijo,
Exactly.
no está de
Venezuela, like
rodillas,
you're saying,
sino
is
ustedes
not
se
on its
mantienen
knees,
firmes en
but
sí
you
mismo,
are
porque
continuing
Venezuela
to
es libre.
struggle to
Gracias.
maintain the reality that Venezuela is free.
Siempre, desde luego.
Thank you,
Ya,
and we're always
gracias,
available to
Luina.
support you. Thank
Ahora
you.
nos vamos con Jenny para introducir lo siguiente.
Now we're going to continue with Jenny, who will introduce the next
Thank
portion.
you. And thank you again, Luina. I think it's a great opportunity together because we have people here today from Australia, the Philippines, Mexico, Guatemala, Zambia, Belgium. I am in Germany, for example, Kenya here with us today. And yeah, continue to introduce yourselves in the chat and share where you're tuning in from. We're very excited to hear about that.
Thank you, dear Luina, for sharing your experience. It's wonderful to be able to understand through what you're doing and saying and sharing with us what is going on in Venezuela. We're going to continue with the program, with the agenda for today. We have a message that is coming from Canada, from Yasmin Khan, from ILPS Canada. You have the floor, dear Yasmin. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Bio. Thank you, everyone, to invite me at this important time and this international gathering. I'm Yasmin Khan. I'm based in Canada, but originally my descent is from Kashmir and Philippines. And as people know, they both those areas are conducting their own people's movements, liberation movements, and revolutionary movements, fighting the same enemy, whether it's youth imperialism, fascism, or chauvinism. And so, also greetings and solidarity from those parts of my of the world. On behalf of ILPS in Canada, we really wanted to say that we discussed the U.S. invasion of Venezuela, bombing of Caracas, and the abduction of democratically elected President Maduro and the First Lady Celia Flores. This is a gross violation of international law and a part of global trend of escalating imperialist aggression against anti-imperialist nations and forces, as well as a race between imperialist blocs for influence and resources. These imperialist attacks on January 3rd, the drone strikes and anti-Maduro propaganda since 2025 by U.S. and its allies, including Canada, is all part of the escalation of U.S.-led war and aggression in order to take control of oil reserves, rich natural resources, and the labor power of the Venezuelan people, but mostly to crush the anti-imperialist forces, as we see Venezuela a beacon of that. Canada has, along with G7 and NATO allies, supported imperialist intervention in Venezuela since the election of Maduro in 2013 and re-election in 2018, eagerly waiting to take advantage of Venezuelan resources. We already know the horrendous human rights abuses and environmental destruction conducted by Canadian mining companies in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Yasmin, so sorry.
And now the use of the Monroe Doctrine
Yasmin,
and inherently...
please slow down.
Slow down. Oh,
So
sure.
sorry for our interpreters. Please just go a little slower. Thank you.
Okay. So do you want me to repeat what I said before?
Just go back like one sentence.
Okay. So as I was saying, Canada, along with the G7 and NATO allies, have supported imperialist intervention in Venezuela since the election of Maduro in 2013 and his re-election in 2018, eagerly waiting to take advantage of Venezuelan resources. We already know the horrendous human rights abuses and environmental destruction conducted by Canadian mining companies in Latin America and the Caribbean. So Canada's support of attack in Venezuela by U.S. And also supporting the Monroe Doctrine agenda is not a surprise because it has its own vested interests. And also the use of Monroe Doctrine, an inherently violent imperialist doctrine, as a justification for these attacks by U.S. is a disgraceful violation of the national sovereignty of Venezuela and all nations in the Caribbean and the Latin America. At the same time, this shows us the urgent need for a fundamental and revolutionary change to oust imperialist aggressors and put in place systems that put people over profit. So today we call on all members, allies, anti-imperialists, and peace-loving people to stand in solidarity with the Venezuelan people in their resistance against imperialist aggression. And mostly we call on everyone to strengthen the anti-imperialist struggle in the world to develop a united and militant movement against U.S. imperialism and its allies. In this spirit of solidarity, in Canada since January 3, many rallies, mobilizations have been held in cities across Canada, particularly in front of the U.S. Embassy and consulates. Today also, ILPS in Canada held a webinar with Rigel Surgeon from Venezuela, who highlighted the tenant and people's movement in Venezuela. So we hope that as the month of action progresses, we can do more actions and activities to raise the banner of solidarity with Venezuela and build and strengthen the anti-imperialist united front. Long live international solidarity, hands off Venezuela, down with US imperialism.
Hands off Venezuela. Que viva la solidaridad internacional. Thank you so much, Yasmin. It's great to hear about the work going on in Canada. Next, we're going south. We'll turn to a speaker from the United States, the belly of the beast, where President Maduro and Cilia Flores are currently detained illegally. We will hear briefly on the resistance by the people inside of the US against the war on Venezuela from Andrew with People Power Assembly, a member organization of the ILPS in the United States. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for being here and the opportunity and the honor to address this global audience. My name is Andrew. I'm an organizer with the People's Power Assembly here in Baltimore, Maryland, in the US. We are a proud member of the ILPS US country chapter and the ILPS Baltimore DMV regional formation. And yes, this is the same region as Chantal Anacoche, who was kidnapped and detained by the reactionary Philippines government. That's my friend. That's my comrade. And I want to thank you all, as you would want me to, for joining in the international demand to release Chantal. It has forced the hand of the Philippines government and has basically guaranteed her safety. And we have to keep it going until she's free and home. Just a word about my organization. The People's Power Assembly was birthed in the uprisings against racism, specifically racist state terror against Black lives, starting in 2012 with the racist vigilante murder of Trayvon Martin in Florida. But the reason for our organization is not only to be a vehicle for fighting for a fighting mass movement against racist terror, including mass incarceration. It must also be a vehicle for building a fighting mass movement against imperialism. The enemy is the same, the US capitalist imperialist state. The connections must be made. A fighting mass movement cannot afford to be narrow. We have a sister organization called the Harriet Tubman Center for Social Justice in Los Angeles, California. I mention this because we share the perspective that the class war, a war between the bourgeoisie against the world's workers and oppressed, is a global one, meaning the class war, so long as the war is strangled by the imperialist system, also takes as its stage a war between nations. The US, as the world's #1 imperialist, considers nations that refuse its terms enemy combatants. So we see the Bolivarian Revolution the same way we see Bonifacio's revolution, a movement to throw off the chains of imperialism, colonialism, and neocolonialism, a movement to defend against a comprehensive hybrid war by the US ruling class. Many of us have been to Venezuela, whether to participate in peace delegations or to serve as elections observers. When our comrades between ourselves here in the People's Power Assembly and the Harriet Tubman Center in Los Angeles, as well as our comrades in New York City, when we found out about the cowardly kidnapping of President Maduro and National Assembly Deputy Cilia Flores, we sprung into action. We treated it the same way we would if any of our comrades had been captured and imprisoned. We mobilized to New York, where our comrades Maduro and Cilia are being held in a federal prison. It is not a coincidence that he's being held in New York, where over 1 million people just voted for a candidate who calls himself a socialist. It was a direct challenge to Zoran Mamdani's administration by larger ruling class forces to take a position. We aim to centralize and consolidate all prisoner support efforts to the following landing page. And I'll put this in the chat. It is linktree/Maduro Flores prisoner support. We hope to do this in a way that unites with the anti-imperialist movement and allows us, for one thing, to coordinate as regular a physical presence in front of the detention center as possible. We cannot do it alone. For another thing, we have figured out the mailing addresses for Maduro and Celia and call on organizations and individuals all over the world to write them letters of support. And that stuff I will also put in the chat. They must know that we are with them, that they are not alone, that the whole world's eyes are turned on the detention center and that we are demanding their release. We also call on organizations, unions, state and city councils, religious institutions, etc., to pass resolutions condemning the illegal kidnapping of a sovereign country's leader. The AFL-CIO, surprisingly, I would say, this country's largest labor federation, has actually already taken an important step in setting the precedent by condemning the kidnapping unequivocally, but they, of course, can still do more. I would love to hear other ways people and organizations around the world can contribute to the release and safe return of our comandantes, Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. Thank you all again. Solidarity and unity.
Thank you very much, comrades, and greetings from Africa. I'm very much delighted to offer a solidarity greetings from Africa. I'm particularly based in Zambia, Southern African region. My name is Gesho Mkawaso, a social activist and human rights defender, and with a wealth of experience in development sector from Zambia in particular. I stand with the people of Venezuela in their struggle as they face the hardship in a beacon of hope for all of us. From Africa, we stand with them, we send our love, our solidarity, and unwavering support to ensure that they continue doing what is necessary to bring the social justice it needs in that soil. Therefore, we also reject the imperialists' brutality, the bullying, and we demand an end to sanctions that harm the most vulnerable, the women, the youths, and all world citizens in that particular order. Their struggle is our struggle too, and their struggle together we say no to this sanction, but yes to peace. Yes to peace. Together we stand in the longer international solidarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gershom, and our friends from ILPS Africa, to our comrades in Zambia in particular. Like Gershom said, your struggle is our struggle, and that goes for you all in Zambia as well. Thank you for this very powerful poem. We are going to continue with more solidarity messages from our ILPS members across the globe. Next, we have Guy of the Committee in Support of the Revolution in the Philippines, which is also a member of the Resist NATO Europe. I think you have to unmute yourself, Guy. Thank you.
Better now? Everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Guilhem, and I am here today on behalf of my organization, CSRP, stands for Committee in Support of the Revolution in the Philippines, in France. We are also a member of Friends of the Filipino People in Struggle, ILPS Europe, and Resist NATO Europe. Today, the launch of this campaign in support of the Venezuelan people's struggle to defend their sovereignty of their country and stand up against the bullying of the #1 imperialist country in the world, the United States of America, deserves the resolute and steadfast solidarity of all freedom-loving peoples. While the unprovoked US military strikes on Venezuela and the illegal abduction of the country's president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife, Cilia Flores, solicited soft criticism from almost every European government regarding the manner by which the operations were conducted, France was not among them. As the oldest ally of the US, Macron gave unconditional support to Trump's intervention. And of course, being a founding member, it is one of the largest contributors to the military and security budgets of NATO and the UN. So, led by the US, imperialist offensive in the Middle East, in Africa, Eastern Europe, and the Indo-Pacific regions have profited French big businesses, especially its war and related industries. The hegemonic march of US imperialism, its external aggression, political coercion, and its direct intervention and violation of the sovereignty of other nations, for example, in Venezuela, as we witness today, and its threat to invade Greenland, among others, has been met by people's resistance. Protests are ongoing in France, also in Germany, in Italy, the United Kingdom, Belgium, the Netherlands, Spain, Greece, everywhere in Europe. People are organizing and mobilizing to support the Venezuelan people assertion of their right to self-determination and to their own path of development. People are educating themselves, networking, and standing together in solidarity, challenging the powers of empire to face the wrath of the people. In Europe, the International People's Front, together with the Resist NATO coalition, organized the first Resist NATO People's Summit and protest action in June 2025 in the Netherlands. It was attended by activists, organizers, revolutionaries, and movements from across Europe and the world. In 2026, the coalition is again preparing to hold the next People's Summit on July 4 and 5 in Cyprus, highlighting the country's continuing occupation led by Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the presence of other NATO countries and its military forces. Resist NATO, ILPS Europe, its members and allied organizations will continue to defy US aggression, provocation, and plunder, and wherever they suck the blood of the people and their land, spreading war and destruction to feed the greed of a system hungry only for power and profit. From Venezuela to the Philippines, from Cyprus to Kurdistan, from Palestine to Kanaki, let us stand in strong defense of the right of nations to self-determination. Let us stand strong and formidable in fighting for just peace and people's genuine liberation. From Venezuela to the Philippines, stop the US war machine. The people, united, will never be defeated. Venezuela, venceremos.
Next, we will turn to the United States, the belly of the beast, where President Maduro and Cilia Flores are currently detained. We will hear briefly on the resistance by the people inside the US against the war on Venezuela by Joe Lombardo. He is the coordinator of the United National Anti-War Coalition, who has visited Venezuela and met with Nicolas Maduro himself. Thank you, Joe.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. There's some construction going on where I'm staying at right now. As mentioned, I'm the coordinator of the United National Anti-War Coalition in the United States. And I want to thank you for organizing this webinar today, and especially for organizing the month of activity in support of Venezuela. We in the belly of the beast have started to put together a coalition to support Venezuela, to fight against our own imperialist government. We started this back in November when the U.S. was attacking small boats, bringing forces to the Caribbean, pirating the large oil vessels. And we put together a week of action in support of Venezuela that saw 100 actions across the country and some international solidarity actions also. Um, uh, as soon as we heard about the criminal action of our government in bombing Venezuela and in kidnapping Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores, we immediately took to the streets in 3 days of actions and even had more than 100 actions that took place. And now we're meeting on a regular basis in an ad hoc coalition. And in particular, we're putting together an international online rally for next Sunday, the 25th, and that will be the beginning of another week of action. And we're actually extending the actions on both sides because things are happening, including a labor action in early February and other actions taking place that we want to connect to, some related to other issues, but with similarities and connections. When I finish my greetings in a minute, I will put into the chat the links for our online rally on the 25th. I hope you will join us. It's an international rally. We need to come together and we need to support from all over the world and from all over the United States. As you know, our country is in turmoil. We have a madman as a president who has swarmed troops and immigration agents into the cities around the country. They are coming in plain clothes, unidentified, snatching people off the streets, the kinds of things that happen in the worst dictatorships around the world. And recently they shot a peaceful protester, Renee Nicole Good. And this has increased the level of protests that we have not seen in a very, very long time. The level of protest has been much higher. People, especially in Minneapolis, where Renee Good was shot, have been fighting back against these agents and these police in serious ways. The level of protest has raised. This comes in the wake of the mass protests that have happened around Palestine and now the attacks in Venezuela. These are coming together in ways that I think that none of us anticipated would happen, but it shows the future. It's a future of struggle in this country. It's a future that will hold hands with the people in Venezuela, the people in Palestine, the people around the world, and together, I'm sure, we will win. Venceremos. Thank you.
Gracias, Sergio. Es claro que necesitamos que la gente de los Estados Unidos
Thank you,
siga
Joel. It's clear that we
alzando la
need
voz desde
the people in
dentro.
the United States to continue to
Me
raise their
enteré de la
voices
muerte de
from the
René
belly
Good
of
y
the beast.
con la Alianza Internacional de las Mujeres pedimos
Within the
justicia
International
por
Women's
René.
Alliance, we are
Vemos
demanding
que
justice
hay
for
muchas
Renee
mujeres
Nicole
que
Good.
están
We see that many women
luchando contra el
are
fascismo.
struggling against
Gracias
fascism.
por dar la situación de los
So
Estados
we'd like
Unidos y cómo
to
está
thank you for sharing the
la
situation
gente de
in the
los Estados
United States
Unidos
and for sharing the agenda
peleando
in
también
the
por la
United
soberanía de
States,
Venezuela.
as well as how the people in the
Ahora
United States
vamos,
are fighting for the
ya
sovereignty
casi
of the people
estamos
in
concluyendo
Venezuela.
con nuestro programa.
We're almost
Por
closing
favor,
our
quédense con
program here,
nosotros.
so we would like to ask
Vamos a
you
ir
to stay
a
with us until
otro
the end.
cultural.
We're going
Dani
to go
Favela,
to another cultural offer
es una
from
activista,
Dani
poeta
Favela,
y
who
compositor
is
filipino cuya obra
an activist,
refleja
a
la
poet, and a
realidad
songwriter who
cotidiana y las
reflects
aspiraciones de la clase obrera en las
on the
Filipinas.
everyday realities and aspirations of the working class in the Philippines.
There are always two versions of peace in this world. The version of the imperialists and the aggressors, and the version of the people facing displacement, violence, and injustices. And in solidarity with the oppressed people of the world, particularly the people of Palestine and Venezuela, I would like to offer this song entitled The Peace We Want. your warships, a land without your tanks, a sky without your warplanes, where doves are free to fly. This is the peace we want, the place we want to live. This is the life we long to see. A playground for our children, an empty battle zone. Clothing, food and shelter, not your bullets and bombs. This is the peace we want, the place we want to live. This is the life we long to see. So go home now, go home now. You leave us alone. Go home now, go home now. Bring your arms alone. Women free from violence, no longer held in chains, as they sing of freedom, not wail in grief and pain. This is the peace we want, the place we want to live. This is the life we long to see. So go home now, go home now. You leave us alone. Go home now, go home now. Bring your arms alone. Go home now, go home now. You leave us alone. Go home now, go home now. Bring your arms alone. This is the peace we want, the place we want to live. This is the life we long to see.
Gracias a Dani por entregar ese video de su número. Como dijimos antes, también estamos con la lucha de las Filipinas
As we were sharing before, we
y su
are also
soberanía también.
supporting the struggle of the
Gracias a
Philippines
todos
for their struggle,
por
and thank you to
reunirse y a
Danny for
todos que se
sharing this
quedaron
song.
por todo el
We'd like to
programa.
thank you all for being on this
De
call
parte de todas
today,
nuestras alianzas
on the part of all of our
y
alliances,
la
including the
Alianza
International
Internacional de
Women's
Mujeres en
Alliance,
particular, de
which
la
I
que
am
Jenny y
part of
yo
and Jenny is
formamos
part of
parte.
as well. And we'd
Le
like
damos
to
las
thank
gracias
you for
por
staying on the call,
quedarse
and we
aquí
hope
y
to continue to
esperamos
work
seguir
with each and
trabajando
every
con
one of you.
todos que se unizan.
We
Nomás
have
tenemos unos anuncios de
some
actividades próximas
upcoming events which we'd
en
like to let you
nuestra
know about,
acción.
which will
Nuestros
occur during this
movimientos
month of
se
action.
mantienen
Our movements
firmemente
maintain their
solidarizados con el
firm
pueblo de
solidarity
Venezuela,
with the movement
a
in
la revolución
Venezuela, including the Bolivarian
bolivariana y el derecho
revolution
del pueblo
and the
venezolano
right
a
of the
resistir
Venezuelan
y
people
defender
to
su
decide
soberanía.
and defend their
del
sovereignty. The
bombardeo
criminal
criminal de
bombing of
por
Caracas
parte de
on
los
the part
Estados
of the
Unidos y
government
el
of the
secuestro
United
del
States, as well
presidente
as the kidnapping
Nicolás
of
Maduro
President
y la primera
Nicolás
comandante
Maduro
Celia
and first
Flores,
combatant
bajo
Celia
el
Flores,
pretexto
under the pretext of
inventado del
narco-terrorism,
narcoterrorismo, constituyen
constitutes
una
a
violación flagrante de la
flagrant
soberanía nacional y la
attack
independencia
on
de
the
Venezuela.
sovereignty and independence of Venezuela.
And just as the US has waged war on the Venezuelan people for decades, the people have resisted in defending their sovereignty and their self-determination. As the US announces its plans to put its boots on the ground of the Bolivarian Republic in a blatant attack to the country's sovereignty, the people have already taken the streets to demand the freedom of President Maduro and condemn unilateral and criminal US attack on their land. Despite threats by the US to occupy the country, the Venezuelan people bravely stand united despite the risk of a full-blown invasion by the largest military in the world and the full-scale plunder of their land. They have proudly declared that they will not become the colony of anyone. The full unconditional solidarity of the people of the world must be urgently rallied to their cause. So please join the month of action. Take to the streets with us, with the people of Caracas. There are more and more actions and events that will be put on. Join the month of action and sign up today. The link has been and will be shared in the chat. We will continue to take action all around the world. We will build political education, build resources to strengthen our consciousness, and take up the call to fight against US imperialism and take concrete action against US offensives and aggression. See the campaign page for mobilization plans in your country and join the upcoming International Solidarity Rally on January 25, as already mentioned by Joe, and also see his links in the chat. Stay tuned for concentrated days of solidarity and mobilization. Let us continue to build solidarity together and struggle against imperialism until it is defeated.
Gritemos conmigo, muera la opresión,
Gracias a todos. Abajo el imperialismo del estadounidense y gracias por estar con nosotros hoy.
Thank you to each and every one of you. Down with imperialism and long live Venezuela. Thank you for being here with us today.